Liam, can you check if we're on Facebook? I've got no comments now. I'm on, alright. They're all still in bed, man, knowing my lot. I know they can hear me. What? I've got no comments up here. Well, I'm just going to continue. I've got no comments coming through. Well, we're here live, I think. I think we're live. Yes, we are. I've got some comments. Hiya, Michelle. Hiya, Facebook user. Jan, morning, Jan. It's glad to see you. Ken, I've been on direct link webinar. It does not let me make comments. I don't know. You should be getting it on Facebook. You should be getting it on YouTube. You should be getting it in my art group Facebook. So it's a trial. We'll find out as we go along. I mean, maybe later, maybe this week or Friday when I'm back on, we might try Zoom as well. Hiya, Samantha. You all right? So if I do miss, when I start painting, if I do miss your comments coming up, forgive me, I will catch up on them and keep a look at them. So this is our gallery, for those who have never been in. This is our proper studio where I work from. We've got seating back here for people to relax. Got coffee over there. I've just had a coffee. Just had one of the coffees out of our new coffee station. So very nice. So come along and have a coffee. So today, hiya Gillian, yeah, yours is a flat white. Actually, I'm making a big error putting a coffee cup down near all these wires. You can see all the wires kicking around, so I've got to keep the coffee cup farther away. Hi Lee, morning from Spain. Yep, that's 2 from Spain. So we're doing all right. We're getting there. All YouTube and Facebook we're getting on. That's good. We're getting a mixture. That's fine. So what we're going to do today is a pastel. Just like a sunrise sky, just really to see how it works. The only problem I've found is this easel. I've just bought this fairly expensive easel. Jan, I pressed your email and it came straight up, and I can comment. That's exactly what it's all about. So I bought this blinking easel. The only fortunate thing is we've got a low ceiling in here. That's the height. I can't get this. That there is touching the roof, the ceiling. So I can't take this picture up any higher. So what I'm going to have to do in future, so that I'm not having to sit down here, is make a board to support this higher up. Anyway, that's the problem. Hi, go, you all right? I'll just keep looking and seeing if I miss you, just forgive me. So I'll just show you the cameras. So you've got, this is sort of the general one. Got somebody out the window there. This is the general one. This is going to be for like close-up, which I can zoom in when we're doing a close-up. This is just to show you the materials. So these are my pastels. So we've got 3 cameras, and one of them, when I get started, the pastel one could go in the bottom corner of your picture, like as that, so that you can see the pastels as I'm going along. So we're just trying it to see what it does. I feel like I'm on the TV. I've got 3 cameras facing me here. So it's nice to be back in the street actually. Lynn's down there working, makes a change actually. But all the shops are open around us, so it's a bright sunny morning. So it's nice to see all the people back after a long lockdown. Janet, watching you on YouTube. Thank you, Janet. Good. I'll have to remember to scroll up these comments because I forgot last time, I missed them. Right, so we'll start anyway. What I'm going to do is do a sort of a big sky, sunrise type sky, and then a little bit of land and water at the bottom. And you'll get the video anyway, so those of you who are in my art class get the video sent to them afterwards. So I'm just trying to do this and keep an eye. I should have an assistant. I should have an assistant that sits here and keeps an eye on the comments. I'll get Lynn, but she's busy downstairs. Right, so I'll show you my pastels before we get going. Do, morning Do, from French France, yes. Yes, French France it's nice here. I don't know what it's like in France. It might be warmer in French France. It's nice here, but it's cooler. Right, so these are my pastels. This is what I'm going to be using today. These are mainly unison pastels. Fairly soft. There's a odd 1 or 2 different makes in, but the majority of them are unison pastels, which are made by an artist and his family up in Kielder, and the highly sought after, even in the States. People in the States buying these pastels up. So they're fairly soft. You can see how it comes off on your fingers, fairly soft. And the thing is, when you get them, they're all labelled up, rolled up. You've got to tear the labels off and you've got to snap them. It's no use having long pastels with labels on. You're never going to work anything with them. So you've got to snap them into bits so you can use them, which annoys my wife intensely. What you can buy from Unison as well is they do half sets. I don't mean half a set, but the half sticks, and they have no label on. They're quite good then. If you get a half stick set, you can get a few more. Now these ones here, these are Ludwig. These are from the States. and these are very soft as well. It's grey skies and chilly in Spain. Well, Jan, you get the heat most of the time out there. Ken, look, really, I am organised, Ken. I am organised. So these pastels are Ludwig. He makes them in various sets. They're fairly pricey, these, like. The box like this is, you're looking at a couple of £100. And he does them in different styles. He does a set of blues, different blues. This is called a sunset set. So that's my pastels, and that's what I'm going to be using. And we'll just sort of go onto the screen. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll get in the road. I can't help it because I'll have to stand in front in parts, but I'll try keeping to one side a bit. It gets difficult, which you have watched me doing it at home trying to do a pastel. I'm in the road all the time. But that's what, it's not so bad with pastels because you're doing it like that. If you're doing a painting, then you've got to get into it. So I'll leave it, I'll put it onto that screen there so it's just a bit nearer. And I'll zoom in a little bit for you. Just zoom in if I can figure out where the zoom's gone. There we go. So I've just zoomed in a bit for you. People in the gallery, there's nobody in at the moment because I don't know how we go. But people can actually see this on a television screen to the right. It's like a football match, a big TV screen, so all the fans can cheer. So we're going to do it. I'm going to do a sort of sunrise, sunset type thing. So I'll start off with what you want. I always use a dark pastel paper. This is sort of a darkish green, but it's made by Senelia. It's like on a little bit of a board, and I've taped it down. The only thing I've found is I've got it on a hard board. It might have been better to have a bit of something behind it, a bit of even soft newspaper, something, so it felt softer. But I've also got it tilted slightly forward so the pastel dust drops off. And just below here, I've got tape, sticky tape, so when the pastel dust drops off, in theory, it stays on that tape and not all over Lynn's new floor. So we'll see how that goes. So I've taped it down and we'll just get started. So I want a nice darkish feel to the sky, gradually getting lighter and lighter till the sunset down here. So if you have any questions as I'm doing it, I'll try and keep an eye on the comments. As I say, I'll Lynn just not around as usual. So I'll put the pastel in the bottom corner so that you can see it. Can you see it all right there? Is it in the bottom corner? Yeah. Pastel should be in the bottom corner for you to watch. Right. Sound all right? I hope I've got the sound altered from last time. So we'll start. So got a strongish, like purpley blue here. I've used that a lot, as you can see, because wait a second, I'm trying to talk to one camera. As you can see, because it's, which camera? I'm on that one. That's the camera. It's a lot thinner than the full stick. So I've used quite a bit of this. Right. What you've got to do is build it up. So don't put it on too heavy at first. Build it up and layer the pastels on. So to get this darker sky at the top, that noise means I should have had something softer behind it, so you don't get that noise so much. So build up a sky up here. I've got tape around it, but the picture will be smaller. And just get a darker edge to this sky. You have to use white paper. Yeah, you can use white paper, anything. No pastels in the bottom corner. Should be. There should be. Are they there now? They're shown on my screen, they should be there. If they aren't, you can see the pastels were only just right. Let's have a look, just a second. Try moving them. don't know why you can't see them. Oh, they are very small. They are very small, but that's something I can maybe figure out. Yes, that's really small. I'll carry on, but I'll try and help you through it, and I'll have to get that sorted out. It's just a bit too small. It looks big on my screen, but it's obviously smaller what you're viewing. I will sort it out. Just concentrate on me. Concentrate on me. Right. So we're going like this. We're putting this darkish pastel on, and you can see the green of the paper through. I always use it. The reason I use a darker paper, Jan, and I do the same when I'm doing acrylics, unless it's a very bright one, is that you get a darkish feel here. You don't get loads of white showing through. And hi Facebook user, it just says Facebook user, so I don't know who that is. If you're doing it like this and you're doing it on white paper, where I've got bits of green or in a darker or a black, you don't see it, but you'll see this would all be showing up bright white. So you have to, if you're doing that, you have to put more pressure on. Do you know what I mean? You've got to cover the paper more. Whereas here I'm just sort of building up the level. So I'm fetching it down and I'm just sort of scrumbling the pastel over. The very soft pastel, and like I say, you don't need to go to the edges because I'm going to put a mount over it that just crops it down a little bit. And this particular colour, that one is going to vanish quite quickly because it's one I use quite a lot. So about there, yeah, I've just dropped pastel on our Lynn's table on the floor. Right, so about there, about a third of the way down, with that sort of colouring, like that. And then you want a lighter colour. You've got to build it up, you've got to sort of layer it down. So you want to be going for a sort of just a paler version of that, sort of a bluey colour. And you see that going on. I'll zoom in a little bit more for you. I'll just zoom in a bit more for you. There, so this blue going on like that. And I'm just rubbing that in. It sounds heavy, it's because of the echo of the board. I'll put some paper under next time. So lay that down to about halfway sort of area and drop it all over. Now what you want to do is push this colour back up into the purple and blend it. So you're sort of pushing it up. Oh, I can see what's happening there. The surface of the board behind is coming through. I don't know if you can see it. I'll definitely have to have a newspaper underneath or something because the grain on the board is coming through. So I'm having to put more pressure on. But as you're starting to fill it in, you need to put more pressure on. So you need to put a lot of pressure down here, and then you gradually tease it upwards into this darker wash you've done, just very lightly teasing the picture up. Now I don't blend. I know quite a few people blend it in with the fingers, but I prefer the pastel to be broken and loose. And that's the reason I don't spray fixative either, because I think fixative over it does the same thing. It sort of dulls the colours down a little bit. So I'm just layering it here, just layering it up. And I'll be putting more colour in to blend it in. Like this, so you're just pushing this colour up. And just teasing off. I'm not putting as much pressure on, so you get a sense of the other colour showing through. And this as well is the reason why if you're using white paper you would have white showing through in places. Whereas if you can pick a darker paper, you don't it doesn't show white. There's bits of green off this paper showing through here, but you don't notice it. It just becomes part of the picture. Whereas if it was white paper, you would notice it. And when I do an acrylic another week, maybe next week, when I do maybe Friday, I don't know, when I do a big acrylic, I'll show you the same sort of technique. So by just dusting it lightly, and I'm hardly putting pressure, I'm putting more pressure on down here so that I get it lighter. I'm just dusting it upwards into here. Just light dusting so that it just lets little patches through, little patches of darker colour here and there. So it's not just a one-off plain colour. I find that you've got to layer pastels up. You've got to sort of layer them up. I can see myself on the telly off to my right, so I can see whether I'm in the road time. Right, so about there, we're going to add more clouds into this. We're just building up. We're just sort of building up the whole tone of it, the level of it. So now you want to be starting to go lighter still. So I'm just going to go for a lighter blue, just in the same sort of mould, and push that in. Can you see that coming in? So I'm putting that in very lightly, and just sort of going in that bottom area, filling in there. Jennifer, on your laptop now, mobile, yeah, you can't watch talent like this on a mobile. On a mobile. I need the big screen, Jennifer. I need the big screen. Right, so you can see that sort of light wash. Now you've got to blend that back in, not with your fingers, but with the pastel. Just sort of drift it over, and as you're getting farther up, you put less pressure on. Again, there is a very big difference between cameras. The one you were using for the first showing the room is much better than the one. I know the problem is, Ken, I'll switch to that and I'll zoom in a bit, but that's as far zoomed in on that camera as I can get. This is all just a learning. So that's the camera you're on about, Ken. If you're happy enough with that, I can stay on that and then zoom in on bits later on. It is different qualities of cameras. I mean, that camera that you're on about cost me 600 or 700 quid. This camera cost me 300, the one that's giving the brighter thing. So I don't understand. I'm going to get a friend of ours, Peter Haygath, the lad that does the wildlife pictures, who lends me. He said he'll come in when he's allowed to and sort the cameras out for me. So that's another stage. So as you're putting the pastel in, I'll stay out here because we're just doing it as a wide area. Putting the pastel in like that, getting this lighter. Now, just very lightly scrumble it up into that area. Just very lightly blending these colours into that one. And like I said, you probably can't see from there, but I can actually see the grain of this piece of plywood showing up. So I will have to change and put a softer piece of board or something behind it. So just dusting it up, and you just lightly, ever so, just touches, just little touches, just scrumbling up. So what you end up developing is just little drifts of clouds. We're going to put more lighter clouds in as the light catches this picture, because we want it to be a feeling of the sunrise. So we're going to put more light into this picture. So I'm just sort of drifting up. And pastels I've got, the other pastels, the softer ones, will drift some more finer clouds in. So I'm just scrumbling this to create a blend up here. And I've actually got the board angled forward a fraction so that the pastel dust drops off. I mean, you kind of see it, but there's a bit of sticky tape down here that's covered in pastel. The unfortunate thing is, now that I've took the pastels out of my room up at home, John wants me to put a new floor down, new covering. Just more work. I mean, we've got I'm saying oilcloth, we've got vinyl down here underneath me to help protect the flooring, the wooden floor. Right, so you're getting like that and you're just building it up and you just soften out. I'm going to just sort of drift it up with a hardly, it sounds heavy, but I'm just drifting it up with the pastel, just drifting it up into this area here. So you're just getting, I'm going to have to do something about the grain. I've got a lot of grain showing through, which means to get rid of it I'm having to press on harder, which I don't want to do. I don't know if you can see it, you cannot read it, but there's grain showing through off the wood, so I need to do something about that. So I'll sort that patch out. So right, down to there, get that sort of in that area like that. Now you don't need to fetch light in, you need to fetch some sort of yellows, weak yellows, etc. in. They're setting them just more comments. Stay on that one, right. Okay, fine, Alison, fine, can I stay on that one? I'll see what we can do, maybe move this particular camera in farther afterwards. You've lost me now, I don't know where I'm at. Alright, I want some light into this now. So I'm going to get a very light ochre. Very light ochre. And I'm going to put that in round about this area here. So putting that in, and I'm going to just sort of blend it upwards into the blue. So you're going for a gradual blending, but if you're doing it lightly like this, just teasing it off, colours from below are drifting through, so you're not filling it. You know, there's bits of blue coming through. Just put more pressure on where you want it to be lighter down here, so more pressure just here. But just drifting off and just sort of drifting it up into the blues that you've done, and just blend that in very lightly. And once I've got the gradual sky down, I'll put some cloud in. So I need to get this just a bit lighter. Sorry, there's a bump on the board there. First time I've been out the house for 6 months. Right. Down here, more pressure. We now need to drift it up. So I'm just lightly just tracing these up into the blues and pushing them as though you've got a central light coming down here and pushing the light outwards. So I'm drifting it that way and then that way. So I'm sort of putting it. This is going to be the lighter area all round. But I'm sort of drifting clouds, and not necessarily much clouds, but just a sense of light onto the sky. Just drifting outwards that way, drifting upwards that way, like that, and out this way. So I'm just teasing them out. And because I'm just to say dusting it, you can see the original colour showing through, so you're getting a sense of cloud and light into there, but making it brighter here, because this is going to be the sort of the centre of where the sun's coming up. So into there stronger, just drifting it up. I'm going to be here all day painting, but I'll go on with that video all day. I'll probably have to stop at some point and then have a lunch or whatever, and then do another one afterwards. But I'll book things in, so on Friday when I'm down here, I'll book a Zoom in if you want. I'll try it, I'll have an experiment. We'll book a Zoom in for 40 minutes up to half an hour before we get involved, just to see if we can get more comments kicking around. My problem is, I'm touching my brand new laptop with my pastel fingers, and it's not going to come out very well. Right, so like that, just drifting it up, just lightly skimming over the surface and aiming outwards. So here, just lightly skimming and aiming outwards. So you're creating the sort of the dome of the sky. And what we'll do is do a few pastel. I'm going to use this particular spot down here for doing big stuff. Up at the hole I'll still do what we normally do, but down here I'm going to use this as a bigger area for painting. Right, so we've got that sort of, just that little driftness up there, and we'll be putting some lighter clouds in and darker clouds in. So we now need to move to a stage more sort of more of a yellow into it, but not too bright at the moment. So I'm just getting a yellow. Can you see that? Yeah, it's just try to leave the camera a second. Can you see that yellow that's in there? Like that. Right, I'll go back to the camera for you though. So that's in creating an area here strong, and then just drifting this outwards into the sky again, pushing it upwards, pushing it up and out to the side. And like I said, Jan, the problem is if you're using a white paper, you will have, where I've got patches of this coming through here, just to say showing, you would have bright white, which might mean you have to put more colour in to lose the white. So we're drifting this out up to here, just scrumbling it up. Another problem I've got is because it's lower down, it's seeing what's level. You know, because I don't want a slanty sea front or landscape. And the thing is, if you have fixative, Garth, Alison, it's lovely. I blend with my fingers. But this is, yeah, it's more dramatic. Garth, late but great sound and pitch. Thank you, Garth. Thank you. Oh, it's Alison. It's come under Garth, but it's Alison. Hi, Alison. So yes, I've got two Alisons. You see, I've got Alison Minnie. I've got Alison Thompson. This, putting it on like this, is more dramatic. If you blend it in, all you're going to do is, whereas this is letting other colours show through, if you blend it in, you're just going to make one colour. You're just going to rub it till it becomes one colour, where this gives you drama to it and allows bits of things. There's bits of colour just drifting through, bits of this green are showing through here, like that. So we've got down to there. We now need to lighten it up to get a really lighter area down at the bottom. So I'm going to put a strong yellow. It's the sort of the strongest yellow I've got. So I'm going to put that in here, about here. I'll show you only the camera. Can you see it there? That strength, that of the yellow. So I'm putting that in. I'm getting pastel all over me switchy units. I'm going to have to cover them with cling film or something. Right, so I'm putting this brighter yellow in down here. And this is going to be down towards the bottom, because we obviously want to put a bit of land in. Same principle, just drift it out and upwards, light touches, just drifting out at an angle. But just ever so strong, just round about here in the centre. Not too strong, because after a while pastel paper builds up and you can't get any more pastel on. So don't make it too heavy. Don't fill your paper. The grain of the paper, if you fill it, then won't take any more pastel. So you've just got to be careful of that. So we've got this lighter area down here. What I want to do is start getting some very bright lights in and some soft clouds effects in. So I want that to come down to about there. I'll just put that in. What I've got actually as well is a roll of kitchen roll, because if you look, the pastel gets very sort of mucky, so you need a bit of kitchen roll to wipe the edge off. So you just take the dust out, and then all you do is just throw the kitchen roll on the floor. Right, so I want into here I want into here to have some lighter clouds going in. I'm going to come back down to this, but I want some lighter drifting clouds out there. So I'm going to go in for a very pale, not white, but a very pale blue. Very pale, and I'm going to drift some clouds. I'll tell you what I'll do. Instead of using a square one, I'll use one or two of the rounder ones, which you can control better. So one or two of these. I've got pure whites just over here, and I've got some just here. The thing with the rounder ones is you can sort of twist them around. So I just want to drift in a few sort of hazy white feel of cloud just drifting up into the sky. Can I zoom in more? I've zoomed far enough in. I don't think I can zoom in anymore. Give me a sec. Yeah, that's as far as I can zoom on this camera at the moment. I'll keep swapping around so you can have a look, even if the colours aren't right. So you're just sort of drifting little bits of cloud. I'm just going to touch that and record it. Just little bits of light, like that there. It's just sort of a light dust. You're sort of just trying to get the morning clouds just sort of rising away from the land. Little bits of dust here and there. Just putting them in. I might have to invest in that camera that camera there. I might have to get a different lens for it because it was a pricey camera, but it doesn't go in too well. So can you see just the sense of scrumbles of wispy clouds just sort of drifting upwards? Like that, just very lightly drifting away. And you put more of the same sort of white into this area here. So you're aiming for a central core round about here. I'm going to put the feeling of the sun about there, not right down, so the sun is just rising. So I'm just sort of going over that yellow with this very pale orchid, very pale, and just sort of drifting it in and doing the same principle all the time, pushing outwards. Anne's here, Sue's here, Janet's here. I'm using pastel mat. No, it's Sennelier board. It's a stiffer board. I find the pastel mat, I like it for like smaller ones, but I've used a pastel mat. I used a pastel mat a couple of weeks ago to do a big one, a pastel mat board, and it was bending. It was bending. Hiya Sue, you alright? And take a minute now to log in. You better hadn't been making too much dust. I am. You can't see the dust that's dropping down here. I'll have to get it out carefully. Because at home when I was doing one, I had the same system. And the idea is that sticky tape catches the pastel, then you take it away. But I dropped it. So it made a mess. And look at your hands. But if I go anywhere and touch anything, my laptop is covered, my switcher unit's covered. Hi Zena, you alright? So pastels are messy. But they're good, I like pastel. So if you can see, I'm just getting this lighter into this area here. Not right down here, just here where I want this feeling of the sun to be. I'm just gradually teasing it outwards across there. We're going to put some light pinkish clouds in. That sounds like the boss coming up the stairs.
Wet wipes.
She's fetched wet wipes. Say hello, Lynn.
Hello, Lynn.
Lynn's here, folks, with wet wipes.
There you go. Hang on, have my face shield on.
Facebook user, good morning, Eric. Just been out with a walk with the dog. I don't know who Facebook user is. It's obviously somebody I do know, but it's not the proper name. It just says Facebook user. Somebody's been out for a walk with the dog.
Put a hand in a wave. There you go.
That's Lynn.
Hello. Right.
That's Lynn fetching wet wipes because she can hear downstairs the mess I'm making. Right, so can you see the sort of sense of glow? This camera is better for getting closer up, but it's not so much for the strength of the colour. No, it's not bad, but the other one's stronger. So you're getting this sort of, it's not white, it's just, most of your pastels go in a range from a lot of white area to a lot of dark area, and you have a different number in between. So you buy a yellow ochre 2 or a yellow ochre 1, and it's lighter, I think that's the way around, and a yellow ochre 8 would be darker, stronger. So it's not a matter of mixing white with colours to lighten them up. You buy the colours in that range. So if you looked at the palette, down here, all different sort of shades of greys, etc., and other colours. Wait a second, I'll see if I can turn the camera for you. Other shades of yellows and that there. And I've just dropped the camera. Alison, the second camera is out of focus for you. Which is the second one? That one? Or that one? Yeah, it is out of focus. It's a strange camera. I don't think there's anything wrong with the camera. It's probably the lens, because it's a decent sunny mirrorless camera that's sort of blurred a bit. But as I say, I've got Peter Haygarth coming, and he'll sort my cameras out for me. If I have to buy another lens, a new lens, I'll get one, so you get a bit closer up. As I say, it's just learning. I'm just gradually learning how to do it, because up at home when I'm doing them, I just have one camera face down, looking down on the picture, and that's actually an iPad that looks down, and it works all right, really. It might be that I might use an iPad. I don't know. I'll see. I will get there for you. It'll probably be Christmas. We'll get there. Right. So you can see a general feeling of the darker morning sky and the light coming up, and you can drift bits up. So I'll get a white, just a soft white, and I'm just going to drift in some little bit more effective lighter clouds, just catching the light a bit. Can you see them just there, just catching the light a bit? Lynn Talbot, I have a spare iPad. Oh, yeah, it might be an iPad job, I don't know. So you're just scrumbling little wisps of clouds, just catching the light. And use a little bit of bright yellow on some of the edges, so it just feels like the sunlight's catching them in places and just lighting them up. So one or two here, just little drifts, just sort of gently scrumbling, a feeling of cloud just drifting away into the sky. The sun's coming up, and you've just got these bits of lighter clouds, and you fetch them down into this area here. So you're getting just that sense of light. Now we need to get some darker clouds in, and we need to get some pinks in down here. So we just get a feeling. The beauty of the pastels is you can just sort of trail them in, just sort of touching in and trail them lighter areas. So you're creating areas of the cloud that the light is catching. Put that back over there. So I want a bit of pink in down here, as though the light behind, the sun's going to be about here. I'm not putting a bright round sun in, but I want some pinks down here, so I'm just going to get a little bit of these colourings and just sort of drag in some pinky feel. So I've got a pink down into here. Can you see it there? That's going to be the That's going to be just above the landscape. That's going to be just coming up above the landscape. And like I said, because I'm looking down, it's hard to imagine what's level. I'm just going to have to sort of go down and see what's level. So put that in like that, across there, across here. Like that. So you've got this sort of sense of cloud, and all you've got to do is put it in strong along the bottom line where your landscape's going, where your land or your water's going to be coming in. Put a bit more pressure on the bottom area, like that, so you've got a real strong bit. But now you just sort of drift it with a swirling motion up into the yellow. I'll put it on the other camera for a second, even though it's off a bit, just so you can see. Can you see it just sort of softening the feeling of the cloud upwards? With just a soft swirling motion. So it's strong at the bottom, but you're just getting a sense of like into here. I'll turn back to the other camera because obviously that's brighter. Now that looks dead strong, but I'm going to drift colours into that as well. So that's there. What you can do is you can put a little bit of feeling as though there's where the water's going to be. So if we're going to have water in, you can drift some pastel down into this area, and just using the pink and just pulling some pastel down, which is where we're going to have some water. We're going to have some land in, we're going to have some water in. So I'm just drifting that down into there, which is going to be a reflection of the sky a little bit. So I'm going to get a very light yellow, and I'm going to just drift into this sort of, just scrumbling in a little bit around the edges with a hard yellow. Let's have a look. Can you see it there? It's just like a harder yellow. I will get the camera sorted, definitely. So I'm just pushing a bit light, so that the sun around this area is just lighting up the clouds below as well, the evening clouds there, or the dawn that's going to be coming up. Like that. So just putting this yellow in and just drifting it in. So what you don't want is a band. You want to sort of break it up. So it's very light drifting just above what you did. Very light drifting of colour with this very pale yellow, and just gently drifting it back down into the land a little bit. So then pink clouds you put, you're just blending this yellow surface into it. So you're just trying to get a glow. So it sounds heavy, but I'm actually just very lightly scrumbling this over. Oh, Malcolm Franklin, are you up early, Malcolm? Can't sleep, so what can I? Yeah, Malcolm's from Canada. He's saying he can't sleep, so he's going to watch me help him sleep. Oh God, I thought I'd got rid of him. Right, so yeah, so just drifting this yellow in like that, just very lightly into there. What time is it in Canada? What time is it here? It's 11, 5 hours. All right, you cannot sleep, it's about 6 o'clock. Right, so you're getting that, like that, getting that in there. Now we need to put some cloud in, darker clouds that's just drifting away. So we need some darker clouds into this sky. And we need a sort of a purpley catch to them, as though the catching the darker ones, and they want to be forward, these, with the sun behind them. That's what we're trying to get. So I'm just getting one of my other pastels, sort of a darker purpley colour. I can blend it and just see what that does. So I'm going to drift a strong cloud in up here. just going to create some clouds just catching the light, just drifting away. Make them a bit bigger just here. I'm going to lighten parts of them up so they feel as though they're catching the sunlight. Hazel, very impressive, thank you. Tell Malcolm it's impressive, Hazel. Right, so just wisps like that, just build it up, you put some light in them afterwards, and you can make parts of it just a bit more intense in the centre, a bit more pressure, so they're just a bit stronger, and not just a big clump, but drift some smaller ones off it. So you're just drifting some smaller edges in here and there. Just a slight touch like that. So you're just creating these clouds. So I'm trying to get this centre area here. So we'll put another one just up here. Just another one just drift. So these clouds are meant to be in front of the night of the clouds. So the in front, and the sun's just going to light up the bottom areas of them. So you stay darker on the tops. And you just, as the higher up you get, the more sort of wispy feel you want to them. Even just little touches like that, so you're getting a sense of the cloud, of the little smaller clouds as opposed to big ones. Linda, had to make my own tea after the war. Andrew is always golfing. Thank you, Linda. Right, so we've got that. So I'm going to put it, I'm not going to balance it. I'm not going to have that's equal. So I'm going to put a smaller set of clouds just drifting away over here. Otherwise, it'll just look like a mirror. So just about here, just put some smaller ones in, just drifting across like that. A bit stronger in the middle. You can make them harder in the middle area. Like that, and just soften them at the edge. I'm going to soften up the edges with some light colour, as though the sun's lighting them up a little bit. So just one or two trails. And as you're getting down, it wants to be trailing across more level, not so going up so much. And we'll put a different set of cloud, a different colour, as though they're warmer. You could put some blue into these. You could actually put some blue into them, so they're not just purple. You could darken them down with a bit of blue. I'm just trying to get wisps, so just little bits of wisps like that, just touches on. So you wanted to feel as though there's little bits of cloud just breaking away, just not a big clump, but bits just breaking away from the main cloud, like that, just a few sort of touches here and there, so you've got that. Now down here, we want lighter clouds, so I'm just getting rid of that, put it back somewhere. So we want some more warmer clouds down here. So I'm going to use a warmer red. I'm going to use a warmer red, more like an orangey feel. And I'm going to put some across here and here. So just across this area here. The sun's going to be about here, right? So just drift. And this is sort of orangey feel to it. Keep them thin, don't make them broad, don't make them deep or broad, keep them narrow. They're meant to be just the sun just picking them up. I might put some stronger reds in there, so across there, and fetch that as though it's going to come across where your sun's going to be. I mean, I'll do different pastels as we're going along, so you'll get, you know, I'll do some country scenes, etc., whatever. It won't always just be skies. Just on the first one, I just thought you might like to do it at the sunset. So, like I said, because I'm looking at an angle down, I'm just trying to make sure I get a sense of levelness down into here. So these want to be just drifting out to the side, just to the edges. Just little flicks. Across there like that. Don't have to be solid, can you see, just a little touch of a wisp, so that you're getting clouds sort of melting in the sun, if you know what I mean, just drifting out. I don't know if it gets sun over in Canada, like, I think it's all snow. I've been to Canada, but I managed to stay away from where Malcolm was. Right, another one just down here. I think I'll probably just a stronger one. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to change to a darker, more orangey red, and just put a couple of stronger ones in. You see them just like that, just a bit more solid, a bit sharper. I might sharpen that one up a little bit. Just little touches of drifty, so you're just catching them in, so you're getting a little bit of drifty cloud just drifting up with that orange. It's sort of a very dark orange. Just use the tissue to clean it. Right, that's looking alright. So what we want to do now is lighten these top clouds up. So you want not a yellow so much as just an off yellow like a thing, and you're going to lighten up as though the sun's here, lighting the bottoms of these clouds up. And that's probably not dark, not light enough. I'll just change to a lighter one. Just change to a lighter one because you want it to stand out. That's better. So it just flicks into the bottom. Sorry, flicks into the bottom of these clouds. Just little touches of the white. Well, very light yellow. You can use some white afterwards. Try and show you. Can you see that them little bits of light just coming underneath? Up there, can you see them there now, like that? Don't make a silhouette right round them. Break them up. You don't want a line right round them. So just little flicks of this lighter colour, and you can even flick it out into the rest of the sky. So you just highlight it. And if you've got it bright here, there's nothing stopping you putting an odd bit of white in here and there. Just a few dots. I'm just going to use a white. Just going to use a white down underneath a bit of these. So I'm just going to put a bit of white into that. That's better, so it just stands out a bit more. Can you see it? I will sort the cameras because it's obvious that the close-up camera is just a bit blurred and off. So I'll just keep explaining. I'm going down under the clouds and just accentuating the feel of some sun just catching it here and there, and even drifting a few bits of white alone just out like that. Into that, touch of white, bit of yellow in places. I'm using sort of the corner of the stick so it's a sharper edge. And you can just dot stuff in. You don't have to blend everything, you can just sort of dot stuff in. Like that. Even drift some up here. So even drift a few little bits of the very pale yellow up into here, so you're getting a sense of, not escaping clouds, but just the feeling that morning's coming, and just light catching little wisps of the clouds here and there. Don't rub them with your fingers, just leave it as a hard line, because the same principle applies. If people use fixative, I find if you use fixative on, what makes the pastels sparkle is the dust, bits of pastel on top of bits of pastel. The fixative just blasts it into each other and takes off the feel of it. So, touches of drifts, technical. I'm always technical, Sue. Touches of drifts. Yeah. You learn a lot, you know, if you keep listening to me. touches of drifts. Like that, so just little flicks. It helps break up. If you get something just too solid, little drift, little scrumble so little scrumble here and there, just picks out the sort of the wispy cloud that's vanishing up into the sky. It's just pushing away. So this is a very pale. Wait a second. A very pale yellow ochre. That's white. Doesn't look white, but that's white. And that's pale, very pale yellow ochre. And it's just sort of using it. I'm just sort of scrumbling like that. Not putting pressure on. The pastel's that soft. It just, if you just drift it, it just leaves a little sense of cloud in that sky. Just a little sense of light. So not everything. You don't want everything to be dark like a band going down. You've got to put the band in, then you've got to blend colours in, so you're just creating a little bit more light in the sky. So instead of putting hard, you can put hard pressure on here and there if you want, like a little flick like that, just to create a little bit of flick of cloud catching the light. No, I'm not working from a photo, Ken. I'm actually just doing it out of memory. I like doing sky, so I don't even know what I'm going to put down here. So I'm not doing from any photograph, it's just... there's a couple of pastels up here of Westerton. Those of you know Westerton, where you can get on the top. You can't see it, I can't turn the camera on. I could get it. I could get hold of it. I'll tell you what, I'll get hold of it. I'll just clean my hands and get hold of this Westerton one that's just somewhere over there. And Westerton is a canny view. And I took a photograph of this years ago, of Westerton. And wait a second, just get the pastel off, because I will, you know, kill me. She's just painted the walls. If I get pastel on the walls. I took the picture of Weston, the photograph, while the sun was going down. I took about 20 as it was going down, and this is a pastel paint. I'll go and get it for you and just hold it up. Just talk amongst yourselves. I've got pastel on the frame, but it'll wipe off then. So that's an evening sky. You can't see it very well, there's a lot of reflections on, but that's an evening sky looking down from Weston over towards Weardale. And the same principle applies. Once you get used to skies with pastels, you can do them. I'm not going to try and attempt to hang this, I'm just going to put it down and put it back there. So yes, so that's what I'm doing. I'm not using anything, a picture or anything like that. I'm just working my way through a picture, building it up as I go along. So we've got that. I think I need to make some of these just a bit stronger. So I'm going to get a real strong red, and I'm going to put a strong red just into some of these, just putting a lot more pressure on, because I want them to stand out against the feeling of the sun. So I'm putting I'm pressing on hard with these reds, not going right over it, just creating harder patches of cloud here and there, just drifting some harder patches out. And this cloud will be lit from here and lit above, where they lit below, because the sun's down here. The sun's about here, so these clouds will have a little bit of light onto the top. And you'll also put a little bit more light into that lower cloud. So I've just extended them out a bit. I could maybe put some up there, but I'll have a look at that after. I may darken that sky down afterwards. So them clouds there, those clouds there, Malcolm, those clouds there want light across the top, so I'm going to get a bright yellow. And I'm just going to flick in some little bits of white, very light yellow, just across the top of them. And these, I'll put these just underneath, just here, because I want the sun to be in about there. But these just across the top, just a lighter yellow. I'm just going into the reds and just pressing on hard, just to create some edges of light just above there. And I'm going to lightly drift some into the clouds, the low-lying clouds, so that you get a feeling of sunlight just hitting them as it's coming up. So just drifting that in, just across the pinks that we put in beforehand. And just drifting them in like that, so they're in there like that. And while you're on with the yellow, you can put a sort of sense of a reflection down. I'm just putting downward strokes at the moment, just to show you where I feel the water would be. And we'll put some land through this. Right, I want a sun. I've lost a picture there. I don't want a bright sun, I don't want a round sun, but I want a real sense of light. So I'm going to darken down with a stronger yellow just round this area, and then put a sun into. So I'm going to put a bright yellow just coming out there. Can you see it's just above it? It's more orangey yellow. I'm just drifting it out, and a little odd bit just drifted out there. So just getting that feeling into there of colour. And then I'm going to use white. I'm going to use a strong white. There's a strong white, there we go. Strong white, and get a sense of the sun just about here. So the sun's got these clouds just going across them. And you want a centre core. You don't want a round sun. It's not like a kiddie's picture where the sun and the trees and the house go on. You want a sense of strong sunlight just coming out from that area there like that. Just a little bit more white into that area there. That's a harder pastel. I want a softer pastel. I want something softer. I'll get this one. That's better. So I'm putting a centre core there, but I'm just drifting out the white as though there's rays coming out from it along this area here. That's it. And you probably just add a flick of white to the tops of these clouds here, not too much, just a little flick of light into them. That's alright, got a general glow. What we need to do, just put a bit of yellow into that cloud over there. Just a little touch of bright yellow into it, so it picks up little bits of the sun. The sunlight. That's looking all right. Right, I'll just clean my hands. What I want now is to get some sense of hills in. The problem is with this, it's too low down. I can't get this to come up any higher. I'll alter that along with a lot of other things. I'll alter, mainly stopping Canada viewing in. Right, so we're going to put a land mass across here. Not right across, I'll maybe put a bit here and a bit there, and then have a sort of a feeling of islands and water. And you don't want black back there, you don't want black, you want a strongish, I'll tell you what, a strong, very strong blue. Which camera? That camera, that camera. A very strong dark blue. And I need a seat, to be quite honest. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to fetch a stool up so that I can sit down a bit, otherwise I cannot see what I'm doing. I'll just fetch a little stool and I'll probably vanish out of sight of it. That's alright, don't look at the back of my head. This stool, if anybody's coming up to look at any time, to come in and have a look, don't sit on this stool because you'll have pastel all over your dresses or trousers. Right, so I'm going to put a land in here. So I'm using a strong blue. I'm just creating a feeling of land. Fetch it so far in. Once they sort of get thinner, as though it's going away from you into the sort of the centre area, so as though you're looking at a sense of land off to your left, disappearing towards the sort of horizon area. We could actually have put in Holy Island. I haven't painted Holy Island for an hour or so. And Bamber over this side, but never mind, just do that. So drift it out so it just vanishes into an edge and making it broader up here. Because it's a landmass, don't have too many individual peaks, just sort of blend it upwards and in. And then fill it in down the bottom a bit. I don't know if you can, I think you can see it darts, fill it in down the bottom, just going away to nothing. Like that. And maybe, I'll tell you what, just fetch it out a little, maybe make this side a little bit paler, so that it feels as though the sun might be catching it a bit, so not so strong. So I'm just going to make that just a little bit more on the bluer side. If I can find a blue. Can't find a blue. Right, there we go. Just found a blue. We'll make it just a little bit paler on this side over here. So this is coming in from here. If it's not pale enough, I'll add more blue. So this is just coming over here from this side. Across here. The noise you can hear is Lynn dealing with a customer down below. So I don't want to take it right across, so I'm just going to sort of stop it there. And I may add a little bit more light into it. Just broaden it out a bit there. So these are sort of in the distance, and I will add a little fraction of light. You want it fairly sharp across the top, so it does feel silhouetted against the sun, like that. So you've got that drifting out like that, across there. And I may just add a little bit of colour into that. I'm just going to add a little bit of light into that, with just a touch of paler colour, so that it just feels as though. So I'm just going to slightly bit lighter, and I'm just adding drifts as though the sun's just lighting up parts of it, just not bright light, just a drift of colours. So it's not just one tone of dark, if you know what I mean. It's not just one tone of dark. Any questions coming through? Paul Thompson, morning Paul. That's my son watching in. So morning Paul, missed you there. Right, so just them little bits of drift, so it feels as though there's a little bit of light. You can maybe put a little bit on the edge of this, just as though parts of it are picking up light. You can't see it so well on the thing, because I will alter the cameras somehow, get a better lens in for that close-up one, so that you can see. The whole idea was I had a lens right close up, but it's not working that well. I'll get Peter to have a look at it. So I'm just putting touches in. I'll just switch it to see it on the close-up. Can you see? So they've got the land coming in here, and you've got the land here, and the land over here is just a bit darker than this. I've just sort of paled this up as though it's farther away and the sun is just hitting it a little bit. Right, what I want to do now, I'll just go back to that one. What I want to do now is put the water in. And instead of the cloud here, because I've decided to make this ocean, but the clouds coming around here, just coming up from behind the land. But because I want to make this ocean, I need to put light onto there. And try and get it square, get it level. That's why I'm sat down, so I can see where it's level. You can't have an ocean. Can't have an ocean that's slanted. So I've got a very pale yellow, very whitey yellow. I'm just going to get a bit of tissue again, just clean that off for you. Because you get with just, you need a bit of tissue so that you can just dust off the muck and just get that on. I'm going to try and attempt to get a light just there that will be level. The beauty of this picture is, because it's going to be a fraction smaller than this, when you put a mount over it, you can make the water look level with the mount. Just drift the light in like that. I'll take that brighter down here, so fetch it in stronger just down here. And you're going to add a bit more colour into it so it's not so bright. And we want to go underneath the land, so we need to go underneath the land with just a more warmer colour. So I'm just going to take this orangey colour, blend it back into the ocean. Take it across the bottom of the land, keeping the land straight. Fetch it across here. So you need a flat area of colour under the land. Out there like that. Just blending it in, because I think that's just a bit too white in the centre. I know you want a feeling of reflection of the sky a bit, but you don't want it to be too bright all over, so I'm just toning it down. I'm doing upward strokes so that you get the light coming down, so I'm just doing upward strokes like that. Up there, building that up like that, and I'm going to put a lighter reflection into it with a little bit of yellow, brighter yellow. So I'm just going to go, you want to be virtually down from there, which is where your sun is, so you want to be down with this lighter colour, pulling it downward strokes. So you're just creating a downward sense of light into this picture. You've got pink underneath it, so you don't want to blot it all out. You want some of the other colour to show through. And the same with this that you put along, just lightly pull down from the land surface with it. And then we can add little shades of light going across. I think that needs to be darker down below. So I'm just using downward strokes like that. And I'm going to put a bit more land in, darker land now, and then put some highlights into the sky, into the centre water. So I'm going to get a real darker colouring. I've got a very black thing here, it might be too dark. That's all right. So I'm just going to create an area of little bits of rocks coming out. So just a line like that, flicking out as though there's upwards, so it just looks broken in parts. And then turning it into a bigger mass just there. I suppose if you want it really black, you could use a charcoal. I'll just keep it there for the moment so you can see the edges. I need a tooth here. Make it broader about there. Now you can make these a bit more broken, as though they're close to you, and like just bits of rock under the land. Paul, Dad, can you move out? Can you move out of the frame? I'm trying to stay out as far as I can, but the problem is when I want to do level, I can't see it, so I'll keep moving in and out. I wonder if this camera is getting confused as you're in frame autofocus. I don't know. I'll get to Peter Haygarth to call in and sort them out a bit like that. So that camera you're looking at there right now. Yeah, that camera you're looking at now is my Sony, and it's a good camera, but it's not. This camera is a GoPro. It's a GoPro. It's sharper. I may alter it so the GoPro can come closer and get in a bit closer. Right, so you've got that area there like that, going off the picture. So this is meant to be, this is meant to be rocks closer together. That's meant to be a mass of land in the distance. This is meant to be rocks, so you can have so much coming up, and you can have maybe just another sort of, when you're doing rocks in, you've got to get them level at the bottom as though they sat in the water, and then just flick up little edges. So it's just little flicks like that. Like that, just get it level at the bottom, even if you have to put a lighter mark in. And we'll fetch some in from here. So I'll put one just into here, a bit bigger. And as I say, get a level bottom, because you want to be sat on. If you can't, when you put it in, you can always go in with the lighter colour and create a lighter edge to the bottom. So just a sort of a rock there. This is the entrance to Vancouver, just past Vancouver Island. I'm selling this cheap, Malcolm, if you want it. Or it could be one of the Great Lakes in Northern America. He's probably gone back to sleep, Malcolm. Jan. Wait a second, I can see. I have just tipped the dust off my picture, and now I have a blurred mess in a pile of dust. The thing is, this is the problem. Your paper needs to have a good tooth to it. I'll turn around. If it's just white paper, it's not pastel paper, it won't hold the pastel so well. So your paper needs to have a good tooth to it. You can get thin pastel papers, but I find they're not that good. They have a grainy feel to them, and they show a grain. This is Senelia, and it's on a board. They're about £4 a sheet, something like that. And they will find, all that pastel matte works fine, except the pastel matte paper, because it's pressed onto a different type of board, seems to curl up. It's all right when it's flattened off, but when it's behind a glass or a mount. But this paper holds the pastel, so there's dust all down here, just here, there's dust dropping, but it won't drop off when you've finished it. And if you spray it with a fixative, it dulls it down, I think. So you've got it's the paper surface. You need a paper, and I shouldn't touch my nose on my face and get pastel. You need a paper surface that will hold the tooth. Now what we do is when we mount pastels, or what Lynn does, is apart from the double mount that's on it, we put an inner mount that you can't see, so it holds the mount a sort of an eighth of an inch out from the pastel. So that if people come to pick it up from the gallery and carry it away, as long as they're not banging it like mad, any loose dust will drop behind the mount. That's the principle of it. But once you've got it on, you should be all right. So it's I don't know whether you're using pastel paper, John, or just white paper. So I'll put a little bit in there, and I'll just flick a little as though it's broken. I'm just flicking some gaps here and there. I might put the Loch Ness Monster in. Just little touches like that, just little flicks. So you're creating gaps between areas, just like that. Just little touches of rocks. Now these ones can be blacker, these, because they're silhouetted. That's in the distance catching the sun a bit. These can be darker because they're silhouetted against the sunlight, like that. I'll put just one in there, just a little one just drifting off to the side. And then what I'll do is I've got a mount here, which is a clean mount, but it won't be 10 seconds after I pick it up. I don't think Lynn heard that, she's downstairs. Right, so just drifting into there. So you've got, I'm going to lighten the sky up, then I'm going to put a land mass in front of this. So I'm going to just get a feeling of more light into this reflection. So I've got a very pale yellow. And I'm going to just go sideways across. Just sideways across and just lightly drift it across. We did downward strokes, but if you just do a few sort of ripples of lighter colour here and there, just sideways, you just sort of create a sense of movement in the water a little bit. So just little light flicks, just teasing it away up the side of the land. And obviously we're going to put it a bit stronger in the centre. So coming along here, just lighter flicks, and it's not loose flicks because we know what loose flicks are, it's lighter flicks. So you're just drifting it slowly in and just building up a sense of light into this centre area where we'll put a stronger light coming down from there. So just drifting these colours in, maybe just a little touch just across there. Into there. Now what we want is strong light underneath these rocks. So just go in, just using watercolour paper. Watercolour paper isn't very good, John. I decided to use a brush and water to wet the dust and make it stick to the paint before it ends up gone. You live and learn, yeah. There are some, you could put water on this paper. This Sennelier paper, if you touch water onto it, it takes the surface off the paper and you can't do anything with it. Pastel matte paper, you can add water or alcohol to it, like an alcohol solution to paint with. But this won't take water. I've spilled water onto one of these before, and it just literally lifts the surface off the paper. And white and watercolour paper is no good. Even if you get the rough watercolour paper, the way it's no good is the rough watercolour paper has too much tooth. I say you want tooth, but you want light tooth. watercolour paper, so if you get a rough paper, the pastel stick drifts over the top and leaves white highlights, etc. So that's where you've got to be careful of. So I'm just drifting a little bit more light, and I'm going to put a sharper light just underneath the rocks. So just a sense of a little bit of movement of water underneath them rock edges, as though the water's just lapping up against it a little bit. So I'm putting real pressure on here under them rocks. Trying to keep your rocks level in the water. It's like when I tell you about boats. Boats don't have curved bottoms on the water. They sit flat, and rocks have to sit flat. If you're doing a set of rocks coming towards you in stages, don't do a line long ways to the horizon. Do it in staggered sections, so that the rocks feel as though they sat in the water, then there's another level just forward, sat on the water. Whereas if you end up just drawing a line in, it just doesn't look right. So just little flicks of light under that edge there. What sort of time are we doing? Just seeing what time. Oh, we're all right. We'll get this all done. So just a few little flicks here and there. Now I'm going to put some brighter white or light, not bright white, but a brighter yellow, a paler yellow, it's just white, on the top of some of these rocks, so it looks as though they're catching a bit of light here and there. So you can't see it so well on the picture. If you can zoom in on your own picture afterwards, you'll see these just lighter flicks, as though there's a little bit of light catching. Don't want too much. Use that, and a little bit more light just under the edges. Don't overdo this, just odd flick here and there. Get rid of that, I don't like that. And then now, get this really light down here. I'll get a yellow, and then we'll have a white. So I'm going to put a very pale yellow coming down from the sunlight. And I'm putting pressure on this, just below the land. I've just blown all this dust off the bottom all over the table. I shouldn't have done that. Right, so I've put stronger yellow in there, like that, and I've just sort of pulling it down with downward strokes. Through this water's edge. I pull a bit more down there. It's a flat stick, this, so just pulling downwards, and I'm going to put a little bit more intenser white into that centre area. So I'm just going to get a very light, I'm not putting pure white, I'm just getting a very light, very pale yellow, and sort of down from where the sun area is, and just putting that in stronger. I shouldn't blow that. Down like that, so and then just crisscrossing it. So you've got a real feeling of light just coming through the water, just there, like the sunlight just hitting the water. It's not white, it's very, very pale yellow stick. And I think you can see it. You can see the little sort of glow on the water. Right, what we want now is a land mass. We want some land in front. So we'll use we'll use it very dark and then we'll add bits of colour into it. So I'm going to use a really dark, oh, there's a dark blue at. I don't want a dark blue, I want a dark, all right, there, a very dark blue. And I'm going to put a landmass just across here as though you're looking from the land, and then lighten parts of it up. So I'm going to put it in dark first so that it's silhouetted. And it can be broken, this, because it wants to look as though you, I don't know, as though it's grasses or bits of land in between. So you can make it sort of broken with sharper edges here and there. So you can make some sharp edges into it. And sort of drift it down here. So don't make it a dead straight one, sort of drift it down as though it breaks off just about here, and then another one can just fall. So drift it off at an angle like that. Down to the bottom. Fill it in. And again, you see, like John, here there's bits, you can't see it so well, you will eventually, there's bits of the greeny paper showing through, like stalks more than anything, because I'm pushing the pastel in downward and upward strokes, so you've got bits of, as though it could be grasses. If it's white paper, you would have white left, so you'd have to put, all the time with white paper, you have to put more pressure on to fill it. So I put that like that, and just sort of tease it off there. Take it up. I want to put a bit of colour into it, and then I come across from this side, and fetch something darker right in front of that area there. So right in front, so that the sea doesn't go off. So I'm fetching a bit of land right up in front of that rock section there. And I'm fetching that down into there. Sharpen it off a little bit, just like that. Get an edge to it. Make it fairly strong. It wants to be strong, this, as though it's silhouetted in parts. So harder edges. Harder edges. Fill it in down here. And then fetch it, leave a gap like that, and then fetch it sort of forward and down into there. So that it sort of blends in with that one just there. So you're creating a sort of a sense of a river or a rivulet. It's down like that, across there. And now we put a little sense of colour into it. So we don't want it black, we want to feel as though it's maybe green sort of areas down. So we want a little bit of lighter green, nothing too bright, but just a dullish olivey green. Anybody saying messages? No. And with that, just sort of scrumble up. I'll zoom in a fraction. I don't think you'll see it still. I'm just putting like a lighter green in and just lifting little patches out so you get a sense of land rather than it being just rocks. No, I paid 300 quid for this switching unit which switches the cameras. You cannot see it, but it's just off to me right, and it's covered in pastel. Right, so I'm just sort of putting in little bits, not all over, just little suggestions of land into that, just little blurs of green. You can put some odd sharper ones in if you wanted. You can put some odd flicks here and there if you wanted just to make it look a bit more like land, but not too much. A little bit into here. Just through there. I may take a bit of this water into that as though there's two levels, so just put that in there like that.